let's take a look at number 25. It says find all the real zeros of the function. We'll first do this with the calculator. So find all the real zeros means set it equal to 0. So we got x to the third plus 8x squared plus 5x minus 14 equal to 0. And just to refresh your memory on your steps for finding zeros with the calculator. So finding zeros on the TID3 84. Step 1. Put the polynomial on y1, 0 on y2. Do a second trace. Choose intersect. Enter on first curve. Enter on second curve. Input an x value close to your answer. And press enter for the guess. In step 3, if you have decimals, second mode, exit out, and then math, enter. So let's take a look at these. For this, I'm going to go to my calculator. Now press y equals. On y1, I'm going to do my x to the third. So I do x caret 3. Now mine's in the new exponent or form here. I have to do a right arrow key. You will not have to do a right arrow key on yours if you got one of the older ones. Plus 8x squared. Okay. Plus 5x minus 14. Now again, you type in exactly like this, except for after the 3, you don't have to do the right arrow. Now I'm going to do a down arrow to y2, and you have to have a 0 here. That's what that's saying. Put a 0 on y2, wherever my steps are. There it is. Then it says do a second trace, so I'll press my second button and my trace, and I want to choose intersect. Now I can down arrow to the intersect and press enter on it, or I can type the number that's in front of it. See the 5? So I'll type 5. Now our steps say to enter on the first curve. There it is. Well, see in the lower left-hand corner it says first curve. We don't do anything exciting. We just press enter. And then our steps were to enter on second curve. And again, see in the lower left-hand corner it says second curve, so I do enter on that. Now for our guess. It said to input an x value close to our answer. Well, over here, this looks like -7. Let me put in -8. So I'll do -8, enter. And it'll come back and tell me my intersection is -7. So that's our first answer. X equals -7. Well, we got 2 more answers. Your answer is where it crosses the x-axis. So let's go through that process again. I'm going to do second trace, choose intersect, enter on first curve, enter on second curve. Now we want to input an x value close to our answer and press enter. Now it doesn't have to be close to. It can be what we think our answer is. Like we think it's -2. So I'll put in -2 and enter. And it comes back and confirms it. Yeah, -2 is your answer. Now we got one more place where it crosses the x-axis, so let's go through this process again. I'm going to show you a different way to do the guess. So let's do second trace and choose intersect. Enter on first curve, enter on second curve. Instead of actually inputting a number when it asks for the guess, you can use your arrow key to move the flashing cursor over closer to the one you're wanting to find. This is a very useful technique if you go on to trig. in some places calculus, because sometimes you don't know what these tick marks are. Well, now my flashing cursor is over closer to this one. It doesn't have to be right on top of it, just closer to it. And then I'll press enter. And it finds our third one, which is x equals 1. Okay, so with the calculator, we found all three answers. Your largest power of x tells you how many answers you're going to have. 1, -2, -7, 1, -2, -7. Looks like A would be your answer. Let's go down and confirm that. 25A. Okay, now let's show how to do this by hand. We got x to the third plus 8x squared plus 5x minus 14 equal to 0. Now, the number at the very end, our constant term, is our p, so 14 is our p. And the number at the very beginning, before x to the third, is going to be our q. So q is 1. So we're going to list all the products give us 14. Well, 1 times 14 gives us 14, and 2 times 7 gives us 14. Now, actually, it's a negative 14, so to handle all, whether it's negative or positive, you always just put a plus or minus before each one of these. So you don't need to worry about the sign when you're coming up with the products. And q will be 1 times 1, and again, we have to put the plus or minus on there. Now, all of our possible answers are p over q. So I'm going to take each value of p and put it over the q. So we got 1 over 1, 2 over 1, 7 over 1, and 14 over 1. Which gives us plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 7, and plus or minus 14. Now what we do is we go through trying each one of these. Like, let me try -1 first. And we're going to plug it into synthetic division. So -1 goes up in our box, and we take the numbers off of our x to the third is 1, then 8 off the x squared, 5 off the x, and -14 at the end. And we'll go through a series of adding, multiplying. Well, we add, 1 plus nothing is 1, and then we multiply. -1 times 1 is -1. Then we add, 8 minus 1 is 7. Then we multiply, -1 times 7 is -7. Then we add, 5 and -7 is -2. And then we multiply, -1 times -2 is a +2, and then we add and we get a -12. Now we're looking for a 0 as our remainder. I didn't get a 0 there, so that means that's not one of our answers. So let's continue on. We'll go to the next possible answer. We're going through all these choices, these p's over q's. So we'll put in a +1. So add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And we get a 0 here. What that means is we found one of our answers. So x equals 1 is one of our answers. Now this started out as x to the third, and this will be 1 degree lower. So that's x squared, this is x, and this is our no x, or our constant term. Once we get it down to the x squared, we can kick out of that and write down what we have left and set it equal to 0. Now this actually factors using the Psd method. Factors as x plus 2 times x plus 7 equal to 0. And set each factor equal to 0. So we got x plus 2 equal to 0, and x plus 7 is equal to 0. And we get x equals -2, and x is equal to -7. Which would give us A again. Okay. Now, if this factoring through here, let me show the steps over here. With the Psd method, that's when you have x squared, x, and no number for your x squared. We take our number at the end, which is a 14, and we write down all products give us 14. Well, there's 1 times 14 is our p column, and 2 times 7. We then add them together. That's our s column. 1 plus 14 is 15, 2 plus 7 is 9. In the difference column, we subtract them. 14 minus 1 is 13, 7 minus 2 is 5. The number we're always looking for is a number in our middle term, which is 9, which is right here, which means I use 2 and 7, which is where those 2's and 7's come from. Now our larger number in the p column that we're using, the larger number in the p column, the 7, is always going to be the same sign as the middle term, which is positive. So that's why we got a positive 7. If the number you circles in the s column, then s for same signs, both positive, both negative. If the number he circles in a difference column, D for different signs. One's positive, one's negative. Well, the number I got circled is in the S column, so they're both positive. So that's how I factored that. And how you do that one by hand.